The arrest in the marketplace. The spaceport marketplace on Voral 6 was full of noise, color, and strange smells. Merchants shouted their prices, robots buzzed past with packages, and aliens of all kinds walked between the stalls. Among them was a tiny alien girl with light green skin, big purple eyes, and long white hair tied in 2 short braids. Her name was Lura, and she looked no older than 10 by human standards. She moved quietly, her eyes wide with wonder. Everything was new to her: food she'd never seen, lights that blinked, smells that made her nose twitch. She didn't talk to anyone. She didn't want trouble, but she was hungry. Very hungry. At one stall, she saw a shiny silver pendant glowing softly. She leaned in to look closer. Her fingers touched it. She picked it up, just for a moment. "Thief!" shouted the merchant, a thick-bodied creature with 6 eyes. "She's stealing!" Lura jumped, her hands shaking. No. I just wanted to look, but it was too late." 2 galactic enforcement officers, tall, armored beings with glowing visors, stepped out of the crowd. One grabbed her wrist. The other pulled her back roughly. "I didn't take it. I didn't," she cried, struggling. The crowd stopped moving. People stared. No one said anything. No one helped. The officer raised his stun baton. "You are under arrest for theft. Move." Lura screamed, "Please, I didn't steal anything." Then a voice cut through the silence. "Let her go." Everyone turned. A man stood a few feet away. Human, tall, with a rough jacket, a dark beard, and a small scar on his cheek. His name was Jackson Clay, a transport pilot who had just landed with a load of parts. He wasn't rich, he wasn't powerful, but something about the girl's cry pulled at him. "She's a child," Jackson said, stepping closer. "Did anyone see her steal anything?" "She picked it up," said the merchant. "That's stealing. Only if she tried to run." "She didn't." The officer turned. "Step back, human. This does not concern you." "I'm making it my concern," Jackson said firmly. "You're dragging a child away over a piece of jewelry?" "Really?" The officers looked at each other. One of them raised his baton. "Touch me with that, and I'll sue you so hard your helmet will fall off," Jackson snapped, pulling out his wrist device. It was recording everything. The officer hesitated. So did the merchant. People in the crowd began whispering, "She's just a kid. She didn't even leave the stall." "Are they really going to stun her?" Jackson looked down. Lura had wrapped her arms around his leg. She was shaking. "What's your name?" he asked her softly. "Lura," she whispered. "Lura, do you understand trade laws?" She shook her head quickly. "She's a refugee," someone in the crowd murmured. "She doesn't know anything." Jackson looked at the merchant. "Drop the charge, or everyone watching this video will know you called the cops on a starving child." The merchant scowled, but now he saw the cameras. Other shoppers were recording too. "Fine," the merchant barked. "Take her, but don't bring her back." The officers didn't look happy. One lowered his baton slowly. "You've made an enemy today, human," he growled. "Get in line," Jackson replied. They walked off. The crowd slowly returned to normal. Jackson knelt beside Lura. "Are you okay?" She nodded, tears on her face. "You saved me." "I couldn't just watch," he said. "Come on, let's get out of here before someone changes their mind." He led her to a quiet corner of the market. His ship wasn't far. As they walked, Jackson noticed something shiny around her neck. A small crystal, glowing softly. "Where'd you get that?" he asked. "My mother gave it to me," Lura said. "She said it's very important." Jackson looked at the crystal. It didn't look like a toy. It looked official. He had a strange feeling. And that was when he noticed something else. Across the market, the 2 galactic cops weren't walking away. They were watching him. One was speaking into a communicator. The other was staring straight at him. Jackson placed a hand gently on Lura's shoulder. "Stay close," he said. Something told him this wasn't over. The human interferes. Jackson Clay guided Lura down a narrow path behind the market stalls. His freighter, the Rustwing, was docked at Port Sector 9 just 10 minutes away if they avoided the patrol lanes. Lura walked close beside him, still silent, her eyes darting around nervously. Jackson didn't speak either. He kept his eyes forward. But he could feel them. They were being followed, behind them. The two Galactic enforcement officers moved like shadows, silent, watching Dot as they passed an empty maintenance tunnel. A loud voice echoed through the com speakers above. Attention! All units, be advised. Human male Jackson Clay is interfering with a legal arrest. He is now a person of interest. Approach with caution. Jackson stopped. Well, great, he muttered. Now I'm famous. Lura grabbed his hand. Are they going to take me again? No, he said. Not while I'm breathing. He pulled her into the tunnel. The lights were dim. Pipes lined the walls, hissing with steam. Jackson knew these back routes. He used them to skip customs when moving sensitive cargo. But this time, he wasn't hiding fuel or weapons. He was hiding a scared little girl. Lura looked up at him. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me, Jackson sighed. Because once, when I was young, someone helped me, and I never got the chance to pay it forward. Until now. Suddenly, a harsh robotic voice echoed behind them. Stop. Comply now. The two cops appeared at the tunnel entrance. Jackson cursed under his breath. He turned to Lura. Run. What? Run to the left, second hatch. Jump down into the cargo chute. I'll meet you on the other side. But go. She ran. Jackson turned around and raised both hands. Look, officers, let's be reasonable. The first officer raised his baton. You are interfering with a council operation. Surrender, Jackson grinned. You're chasing a kid for touching a pendant. That's not justice. That's bullying. The second officer stepped forward, fast too fast. Jackson reached into his jacket and pressed a button on his wrist device. Live broadcast initiated, transmitting to public net. The officers froze. I'm streaming now, Jackson said. Millions are watching. So unless you want to stun an unarmed man on live holla, I suggest you back off. The first officer lowered his weapon. This isn't over, I know, Jackson replied. That's the problem. He backed away, turned, and dashed after Lura. A minute later, Jackson dropped into the cargo chute. The slide spat him out into a loading bay filled with broken crates and old parts. Lura was there, hiding behind a crate. You okay? He asked, brushing dust from his jacket. She nodded. I thought they caught you. Not today, he said. Come on, my ship's nearby. They reached the Rustwing, an old but sturdy freighter. It had a dented hull, scratched paint, and a growling engine, but it could fly fast and hide well. Inside the cockpit, Jackson powered up the shields. Lura sat in the co-pilot's chair, her legs swinging. Will they chase us? They already are, Jackson muttered, but I have a few tricks. He punched in the takeoff code. The docking clamps released. The Rustwing lifted off. Just then, a message came through the comms. Jackson Clay, you are harboring a fugitive and resisting lawful authority. Stand down or be fired upon, Jackson smirked. They always say please. Lura's eyes widened. What do we do? Jackson pulled back the throttle. We run. The ship blasted upward. Behind them, police drones gave chase. Lasers lit the sky. Lura held the arms of her chair. Why are they so angry? It was just a pendant. Jackson shook his head. It's not about the pendant anymore. It's about what you represent. You stood out. You were different. And you weren't afraid to speak. Lura looked confused. But I was afraid, he smiled. You didn't run right away. You faced them. That means something. Suddenly, the ship rocked. A drone had fired a warning shot. Jackson spun the ship. around a satellite array, then dove into an asteroid field near the planet's rings. It was a crazy move, but it gave them cover. As they hid behind a large chunk of space rock, the drones lost signal and drifted away. Lura let out a breath. That was close. Too close, Jackson agreed. He turned off the engine and floated. In silence for a moment. I need to know more, he said gently. Why were they really after you? Was it just about the pendant? Lura hesitated. Then she pulled something from a pouch on her waist. It wasn't the silver pendant. It was the crystal, the one glowing softly. They don't care about what I took, she whispered. They want this. Jackson leaned forward. The crystal pulsed in his hand. What is it? Lura looked up, her eyes serious now. My mother said, it holds the truth. Something they don't want anyone to see. Jackson stared at the crystal. He had a feeling this was bigger than anything he had expected, and now he was part of it. Lura's story inside the quiet cargo bay of the Rustwing. Jackson and Lura sat beside each other. The engines were on silent drift mode. Outside, the asteroid field hid them from sensors. For now, they were safe. Jackson looked at the strange, glowing crystal Lura had given him. Its light flickered softly, like it was breathing. He turned it over in his hand but couldn't open it. Lura sat cross-legged, her small fingers twisting nervously. Her voice was soft. You want to know where I'm from? Jackson nodded. If you're okay sharing. She took a deep breath. I was born on the moon colony of Alvera 9, she began. It was a green place, full of trees and tall flowers. We lived in harmony. My people are called the Villari. We were peaceful, quiet. We didn't fight anyone. Jackson listened closely. Lura didn't look up as she spoke. Her voice stayed calm, but he could tell the memories hurt. One night, big ships came from the sky. We thought they were explorers, but they weren't. They wore black armor. Number. Flags, no warnings. They destroyed our towers. Burned the gardens. Took people away. She finally looked up at him. They said we had something dangerous, a secret, but we didn't know what they meant. Jackson frowned. And the crystal? My mother gave it to me when they came. She said, protect this. It holds the truth. If you lose it, our people will disappear forever. Then she pushed me into a sewer pipe and told me to run. Lura's voice cracked. I never saw her again. Jackson's hand tightened around the crystal. I'm sorry, kid. She wiped her eyes quickly. I lived in the wreckage for a long time, hid in cargo bins. Ate from trash piles. I found old maps and followed trade ships. Jumped from one planet to another, always hiding. He was amazed. How long were you on your own? 2 years, she said. Jackson leaned back in his seat. 2 years. For someone so small, so quiet, it was hard to believe. But now he understood. She was stronger than she looked. And when you got to Voral 6? He asked. I thought maybe someone could help me, she said. I wanted to trade the crystal for food. I didn't know about rules. I didn't know you had to ask. Where I come from, we just share. Jackson chuckled sadly. This galaxy doesn't work like that. She looked down again. I don't want to run anymore. He tapped the crystal with his thumb. Then we'll figure out what this thing is. If it really holds the truth, we'll show it to the whole galaxy. But we can't open it, Lura said. It needs a key, a voice. Jackson raised an eyebrow. A voice? She nodded. My mother said it only responds to bloodline. So, your voice? He asked. Lura hesitated. Then she took the crystal in both hands and held it to her mouth. She whispered softly in her native tongue. The crystal glowed. Brighter, then flickered, then stopped. She tried again. Louder. The crystal shook, but didn't open. It doesn't work, she whispered. I'm not strong enough. Or maybe I'm not ready. Jackson stood up. Then we get help. I have a contact in the Terran Free Zone. A hacker named Jen. She knows how to unlock things the Council doesn't want touched. But the cops, they won't find us in the Terran Free Zone, he said with a smile. It's lawless, dangerous, perfect. He turned back to the control panel. Course set, we jump in 10 minutes. As he powered up the engines, Lura walked toward the large viewing window. She looked out at the stars, endless and silent. Do you think they'll kill us? She asked quietly. Jackson looked over his shoulder. Maybe, but I won't let them take you. She turned to him. Why do you care so much? He smiled. Because sometimes all it takes is one person to stand up. And others start standing. Too. She didn't fully understand, but his words made her feel warm inside. Then something blinked red on the control panel. Ship detected, Jackson said. Fast, closing in. Lura's eyes widened. They found us? No, this isn't. Police. He squinted at the scanner. Unknown vessel, no IDTAG approaching FASD, Jackson swore. Bounty hunters. Lura grabbed the edge of the console. What do we do? He hit the throttle. We run again. But this time, if they catch us, we fight. The ship blasted out of the asteroid field, stars stretching around them. Lura held onto her seat. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel completely alone. Hunted by authority, the Rustwing flew fast through empty space, stars streaking past the viewports. Inside, red lights blinked across the dashboard. The ship rattled slightly, its engine pushed harder than normal. Jackson tightened his grip on the control stick. That bounty hunter's ship is still behind us. How did they find us? Lura asked, clutching the armrest. They're tracking your crystal, Jackson guessed. It might be giving off some kind of signal. He reached over, yanked open a drawer, and pulled out a thick foil pouch. Put it in this. Lura dropped the glowing crystal inside the bag. The moment it closed, the ship's sensors calmed a little. Jackson sighed. That bought us time. But they're still following. Outside, a sleek black starship closed in. Unlike the bulky police cruisers, this one was sharp and fast, painted with skull symbols and red markings. A bounty hunter for hire. Incoming transmission. Pilot Jackson Clay. You have one fugitive on board. Turn her over, and you will not be harmed. Jackson flipped the COM switch off. Not happening. He turned to Lura. We'll need a hiding place. Something the scanners can't see. I can hide in the fuel tanks, Lura offered. No, too risky, Jackson said. But we've got something better. He pulled up the navigation map and highlighted a nearby zone. Rothex. Rift. A floating graveyard of wrecked ships. No sensors work in there, Jackson explained. It's full of magnetic debris and broken hulls. But if we fly smart, we can lose them. But what if we crash? Lura asked. Then I hope you know how to swim in zero gravity. He joked. She didn't laugh, but her lips twitched. Minutes later, Rustwing dove into the dark cloud of Rothuk's rift. Broken ships drifted everywhere, battle cruisers, freighters, alien transports, all torn apart from old wars. The place looked haunted. Jackson flew carefully. We can't use auto-navigation here, manual only. The bounty hunter's ship followed close behind, firing slow pulses to try and flush them out. As Rustwing turned sharply around a shattered cruiser, a shot clipped the rear fin. The ship spun. Jackson gritted his teeth. Hold on. They skidded past a floating metal tower and ducked under a broken station platform. The bounty hunter ship tried to follow but clipped a satellite, slowing it down. Jackson saw his chance. There, he pointed. A half-sunken cargo hauler floated sideways. Its metal hull had a wide opening, perfect for hiding. He steered Rustwing inside and killed the engine. The ship went dark, silent. Now we wait, he whispered. Lura crawled closer. Do you think they saw us come in? Maybe, he said. Or maybe we're ghosts now. The hunter's ship passed by outside. Searching. Inside the cargo hauler, Jackson opened the storage locker and handed Lura a protein bar. "Eat something," he said. "You'll need your strength." She took it, but looked tired. "I don't want to keep running," she said. Jackson nodded. "I know." "Neither do I." After a long pause, she asked, "What will they do if they catch me?" He answered slowly, "If the bounty hunter catches you, he'll sell you. If the cops catch you, they'll silence you. That crystal holds a secret they want buried." Lura looked down. "Maybe I should give it to them." Jackson shook his head. "No, if you give it to them, they win. Your people stay forgotten. But I'm just one person." "That's how every big change starts," Jackson said. "With one person." Suddenly, a sharp beep came from the scanner. "Movement." Jackson whispered. The bounty hunter's ship was returning. It stopped right outside the cargo hauler. It began scanning. "They're going to board," Jackson said. "We have to act first." Jackson grabbed a pulse rifle from the weapon rack. Lura's. Eyes widened. "You're going to fight?" "Only if I have to." He opened the side hatch silently. In the dark, he floated out into the wreckage, using the tether to stay close. The bounty hunter's docking port connected with the hauler. A hatch began to open. Jackson drifted behind a broken metal panel, heart pounding, a figure in dark armor. Stepped into the wreck. Tall, heavy boots. A long-range sensor helmet with blinking red eyes. Jackson aimed. The hunter turned his head slightly like he felt something. Jackson fired. The shot hit the hunter's chest. The armor sparked but held. The hunter turned and raised his blaster, but Jackson was gone. He had already drifted back into the ship. "Time to leave," he said. He jumped into the pilot's seat and powered the ship. The engines roared to life. The hunter spun around just in time to see Rustwing blast out of the wreck, hitting full speed. Jackson looked behind. The hunter's ship tried to chase, but sparks flew from the side. Jackson's shot had damaged its engines. "We did it!" Lura cried. "For now," Jackson said. "We're not safe yet. But we're one step ahead." He tapped the screen. "Next stop, the Terran Free Zone." Lura gripped the crystal pouch tightly. For the first time, she felt something new inside her. Hope. Hidden truth in the data crystal. The Rustwing landed rough but safely on a dusty, broken platform deep inside Driftport 7, one of the outer stations of the Terran Free Zone. This place wasn't on most star maps. Its lights flickered, its walls were cracked. Security was low, and nobody asked questions, perfect for people on the run. Jackson stepped off the ship first, scanning the shadows. "Stay close," he told Lura. The tiny alien girl followed him, clutching the foil pouch that held her crystal. She looked nervous. The spaceport smelled like rust and oil. Alien traders, smugglers, and drunks moved around them like ghosts. Walked quickly through a maze of metal corridors and entered a small locked room behind a weapons shop. Inside, a woman waited. She had short, spiky hair and eyes that glowed orange. She sat in a chair with her boots on a desk, chewing gum and flipping through a holoscreen. "Jen." Jackson greeted. Double quotes. Well, Jen said with a grin. "Look, who's crawling back from the grave?" "I need a favor," he said, pulling out the pouch. She raised an eyebrow. "That's not payment." He unwrapped the pouch. The crystal gleamed under the dim light. Jen sat up straight. "That is ancient," she whispered. "It's encrypted," Jackson said. Voice locked. "And someone is willing to kill a kid to keep it buried." Jen looked at Lura, then at Jackson. "How bad?" "Council level bad." Jen didn't smile now. "Then let's open it." They went into Jen's back room, which looked like a tech lab built out of junk. Cables hung everywhere. A dozen screens blinked with alien code. Machines hummed. Lura sat in a padded chair while Jen set up the scanner. Jackson stood beside her. "Ready?" Jen asked. Lura nodded. She held the crystal in both hands and whispered the Velari words again. Nothing happened. Jen frowned. Again, slower. Lura closed her eyes. Her voice came out soft, steady, and clear. The crystal pulsed once, then twice. Then open dot, it unfolded like a blooming flower. Inside was a glowing core and a floating projection, a recording. Woman appeared tall, with the same white hair and purple eyes as Lura. Her face was calm but serious. This is High Matron Elvani of Alvaranine. If you are hearing this, our world has fallen. Lura gasped. That's my mother. Jackson and Jen leaned in as the message continued. The Galactic Council lied. We were never building weapons. We were never a threat. We discovered something dangerous to them. A secret hidden in their founding code. A crime. Jen's eyes narrowed. Wait, what crime? Years ago, the Council staged a war. They attacked peaceful species, then blamed others to justify expansion. Billions died. It was all recorded. We have proof. The projection shifted. Files appeared, video clips, document scans, ship logs. One file showed Council leaders talking about staging attacks and controlling the press. We tried to speak. They erased us. The message flickered. If you are my daughter, Lura, I love you. Be brave. Show the truth. Let our people be remembered. Then the light faded, and the crystal closed. The room fell silent. Lura stared at the ground, tears in her eyes. Jackson rested a hand on her shoulder. Jen stood slowly. This could destroy them. Exactly, Jackson said, but it's dangerous, Jen added. If you send this out, they'll come for you with everything. I don't care, Lura whispered. They already took my world. They don't get to erase us too. Jen nodded. Then we need a plan. An hour later, they set up the transmission station. Jackson worked the controls. Jen ran the encryption. Lura sat nearby, holding her mother's crystal. All systems ready, Jen said. The message will go live on every open network. Even black market channels. Jackson looked at Lura. You sure? She nodded. Then do it. Lura touched the panel. The screens lit up. Across the galaxy. Ships, stations, and worlds began receiving the message. The High Matron's voice echoed across space. People watched in shock. Some cried. Others shouted. The truth could not be stopped now. Lura's name and face appeared everywhere. Now they know, she whispered. But just as the final file uploaded, the screens blinked red. Incoming signal, unknown vessels. Apro Jackson cursed. They're here. Jen checked her screen. 4 ships. Military class, not bounty hunters. Council strike team. They traced us that fast? Jackson asked. You went loud, remember? Jen said. They're coming to erase all of us. He turned to Lura. We have to run again. Lura stood up slowly. No, we stand. You're just a kid. I'm not a kid anymore. Jen handed her a small pulse blaster. She's right. We fight. Jackson looked between them. Then he grabbed his rifle, loaded it, and nodded. Then we fight. Outside, alarms began to scream. Inside, a girl who once ran from everything now prepared to face the people who destroyed her home. The trial of truth. The walls of Driftport 7 shook as Council strike ships landed with a deep rumble. Jackson peeked through a cracked window in Jen's hideout. Black armored troopers marched out, weapons ready. Their helmets shined under the station lights. They're not here to arrest us, Jackson said. They're here to erase us. Lura stood beside him, gripping her blaster tightly. She looked small, but her eyes were full of fire. Jen slammed a case onto the table. EMP charges, smoke grenades, flash units. We slow them down. We escape through the sewer tubes under the port. Jackson glanced at the screen. Too late. They've sealed the tunnels. They're hurting us. Lura stepped forward. Then let's not run. Jackson looked at her. What are you saying? They want to silence us, but the whole galaxy already saw the message. People are watching. Let them see more. Let them see the truth live. Jen slowly smiled. You want a trial? Public trial, Lura said. Let them try to lie in front of the whole galaxy. Jackson stared at her for a moment. Then he nodded. All right. Then let's go big. 3 hours later, the council troops finally broke into the room, only to find Lura waiting in a chair. Calm, her hands resting in her lap, Jackson stood behind her. Jen streamed the entire scene through a hidden drone. The commander raised his weapon. You are under arrest for treason, theft, and spreading false data. Lura stood. I will go with you, she said. But I demand a trial, a public one. Let everyone see it. The commander laughed. You are a child. Jackson stepped forward. She is the rightful heir of Alvera 9 and bearer of a truth the council tried to bury. Deny her trial, and the galaxy will know you fear her. The commander hesitated. His troops looked uncertain. Cameras were blinking everywhere. Finally, he growled, Fine, you'll get your trial. But don't expect mercy. 2 days later, inside the Galactic Central Court, the largest courtroom in known space, lights flashed and crowds gathered. Reporters from dozens of systems hovered in floating camera pods. The entire event was streamed live to trillions. Lura sat in the middle of the courtroom. Her legs barely reached the floor. But she sat tall, dressed in simple robes, her mother's crystal in her hand. The council members sat above, looking down like judges, cold, distant. Jackson sat beside her. As her legal protector, Jen operated a secure channel, streaming everything. The head counselor spoke. You are accused of spreading dangerous falsehoods and inciting rebellion. Do you deny these charges? Lura stood. I do not deny sharing the truth. But I do deny that the truth is dangerous. Gasps came from the audience. The head counselor leaned forward. You claim the council staged wars. That's treason. Lura held up the crystal. I have the recordings. You've already seen them. You cannot deny your voices, your plans. The counselor snapped. The data could be fake. Jen, from her seat, stood and spoke. The files were verified by 10 neutral tech guilds. The time codes match. The ships, the names, the signatures, everything is real. The crowd began to murmur. The counselors shifted uncomfortably. Jackson rose. Let me ask this. If the data is fake, why did your strike team try to kill her instead of asking questions? Why not challenge the information with proof? The counselor barked. Because she's a threat. She's a child, Jackson replied. But you're right. She is a threat to lies. Lura stepped forward. Her voice was louder now. My mother warned me that the truth could get me killed. But she also said truth brings light. You tried to erase my world. You tried to erase me, but I'm still here. People watching across the galaxy leaned closer to their screens. I may be small. I may be young, but I am not afraid of you anymore. She looked directly at the camera, and neither should anyone else be. The courtroom fell silent. Then someone in the audience stood and clapped. Then another. Then hundreds. Even in faraway systems, people watching on screens clapped in their homes, their bars, their ships. The council couldn't stop it. The head counselor rose. His voice was shaking. This trial is over. You're right, Jackson said. Because you already lost. That night across the galaxy, the council's power began to break. Several planets pulled out of the council. Protests rose in the cities. Honest leaders demanded reform. The name Lura Valari became a symbol of truth, of courage, of hope. Inside their ship, Rustwing, Lura sat beside Jackson in the cockpit. Jen was sleeping in the cargo bay. You were amazing in there, Jackson said. I was scared, Lura admitted. That's what made it brave, he replied. She looked out at the stars. Do you think it's over? Jackson shrugged. Not yet, but we started something, and you changed everything. She smiled softly. I just wanted someone to listen. Well, Jackson said, pointing at the message feed blinking on the screen. Looks like the whole galaxy did. A human's stand. A new beginning. 3 weeks had passed since the trial shook the galaxy. The name Lura Valari was now known on 1,000 worlds. Statues were built in her honor on Alvira IX's ruins. Songs were written. The Council's lies had cracked, and their once iron grip was now weak and trembling. But Lura didn't care about fame. She sat quietly on the ramp of the Rustwing, watching a new dawn rise over the green hills of New Valari, a refugee colony where survivors of her people had begun to gather again. The air smelled like morning rain. Real birds flew overhead. Behind her, Jackson walked down the ramp with 2 mugs of hot STIM-T. He handed one to her and sat beside her. Hard to believe, huh? He said. Lura nodded. Sometimes I wonder if I'm dreaming. Jackson sipped his tea. You're not. You stood up to the most powerful people in the galaxy and didn't blink. She smiled a little, then turned serious. Do you think the Council will try to come back? Some of them are gone. Others are hiding. But the galaxy's awake now, Jackson said. They can't hide lies forever. Silence passed between them, but it was a peaceful one. Then Lura looked at him. Jackson, what will you do now? He stretched, leaned back. I've got a ship. I've got freedom. I might take a few jobs. Might disappear for a while. She frowned. Are you leaving? He looked at her for a moment, then smiled. Only if you want me to. She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, I don't. He chuckled. Good, because I kind of like being your co-pilot. Lura looked back at the rising sun. I want to help rebuild Alvera. I want my people to have a voice again, a future. Jackson nodded. Then that's what we'll do. Later that day, they walked through the open field that used to be a crash site. Now it was filled with tents, food stations, and work crews. Survivors of the Valari, along with volunteers from many species, worked side by side. Children laughed in the distance. Old ones told stories. Hope was alive here. Jen stood near a solar panel bank, fixing a power conduit. She waved when she saw them. Hey, heroes. She shouted. Jackson laughed. You're supposed to be on a beach somewhere. Jen rolled her eyes. Yeah, well, someone has to make sure your power core doesn't explode. She pulled Lura aside for a second. You okay? Jen asked. Lura nodded. Still a little scared sometimes. That means you're still human. Or close enough, Jen said with a grin. Later that evening, a quiet ceremony was held under the stars. A fire burned in the center of the field. Valari elders gathered and invited Lura to stand before them. One elder raised a silver medallion, the sigil of the first flame, a symbol of their ancient bloodline. This belonged to your mother, the elder said. She was our matron. Now we offer it to you not as a command, but as a gift. If you wish to lead us, we will follow. Lura looked at the medallion, her heart heavy. I don't know how to lead. Then you're already better then. Most who try, the elder said gently. She took the medallion and bowed her head. Jackson stood in the back, proud but quiet. That night, Lura and Jackson sat under the stars again. This time with a real campfire crackling between them. She turned to him. Do you think things will ever go back to the way they were? Jackson shook his head. No, but maybe that's a good thing. I don't want to just be a symbol, she said. I want to do things. He looked at her. Then do them. Speak, build, protect others. Be the person you needed when you were scared and hungry. She smiled. I want you by my side. You've got me, he said without hesitation. Then he leaned back and looked at the stars. You know, I signed up for a simple cargo run, pick up junk, fly through space, make a few credits. Lura giggled. You ended up in a galactic rebellion, Jackson grinned. Best detour of my life. As dawn approached again, the wind blew gently through the grass. The fire turned to soft embers. In the distance, more ships landed, more survivors returning home. And in the heart of it all, a tiny alien girl once hunted and forgotten, now stood as a light in the darkness, not because she was powerful, not because she was loud. But because one human stood up when no one else did, and from that single act, a new beginning was born.